I am live. Welcome everybody. I obviously going to give it a few minutes. This is a live, so I'm going to give it a few more minutes for people to kind of join the chat. In the meantime, or as we're waiting for humans to arrive, I kind of want to go over some admin stuff and let you know what's going on. Just classes, events, a little bit of an update, I guess, with all of that stuff. And I'm still doing classes. Classes have slowed down a tad bit, and that's just the nature of the market. Maybe I'll talk about the market a little bit today. I didn't have that planned in today's podcast. Obviously, you see somebody who's missing. No surprise there. That fucker. Isaac is unavailable again. He says that he's too big for this channel, that this channel is not worth his time anymore, and he's going to focus on his other channel because that's more better. I mean, what he actually said was that he's flying back from a work trip, but we all know that that's not it. He's fucking pushed the shit out fucking way too many times. We know what it really means. He's got work shit and he can't be here today. He probably won't be here the next one or the next one or the next one. He will let us know when he fucking can fit us in. Um, but I do know he's got some classes coming up in November. So if you still need to get, and they might be full already. So if you still need to get your permit and you're in the Colorado Springs area, go to the website gfenational.com. That's where you would go do all that stuff. I've got some classes coming up as well, gfenational.com. You can find all of that information again on our website at gfenational.com. Please remember that we are having some fundraisers. I'm probably going to add some more guns to the fundraiser. I was going through some of the guns that we have available. But obviously the big one is the Win the Staccato. I think I'm at a point where we're probably just going to have to take a loss on the Staccato. It was one of those things that was donated, but it was at a loss type of situation where like we still have to pay some money but not the full money, so we can make some money, and it just the person's taking a loss themselves. At any rate, it's the Staccato's just not doing as well as we would have hoped that it was going to be. So it is what it is. That's kind of the nature of the beast. I may switch it up to do the stupid stuff, and if we get a certain amount of likes, I'll just raffle it off. Right now, the way these fundraisers are set up is we give a certain amount of numbers per gun that we're raffling off, and once those tickets sell, that allows us to make a little bit of money, and then you guys that are supporting us potentially win a gun for a fraction of the cost of $10. I think one of them is for $3 or something like that. So for the price of a ticket, you win the gun. Now, for legal reasons, we obviously have to offer you guys a free way to do that. And usually it's show up to the classroom and fill out the form there. And all of that information can be found on our website at gfenational.com, gfenational.com/fundraisers/fundraisers. But we do have that stuff going on. So help us out, support us, and potentially win again. So if it continues going the way it's going, I think we're just going to do the silly thing and we'll find a video, and if we get hits a certain amount of likes, since the money thing isn't going the way we want it to, we'll just do it the likes way. A lot of videos do it that way, where if you make a certain threshold, views, likes, whatever, then they do a giveaway, and we may just go that route. If we can't raise money for whatever weird reason, nobody wants to win the Staccato, if we can't raise money, then maybe it'll help the YouTube channel as well. Isaac's channel doesn't need help, or the main channel needs help. But we might do it that way, and we might do it that way, so we'll see. At any rate, a couple things that I wanted to talk about. Few things that I wanted to talk about. One was a conversation that I had with a student. This conversation that I had with a student in a class I was going to do a separate video, but with Isaac canceling every single podcast, I figured I'd do it with this one. And um, it was towards the end. We do a debrief. Those of you guys that watch this, you understand we do a debrief. Maybe you've been in one of our classes, but we do a debrief at the end of every single class. And it's basically allowing you guys the opportunity, the end users, allowing you guys the opportunity to voice concerns, to talk about issues, to say what was good, what was valuable, what you learned. So it's just a standard feedback moment. And one of the conversations sparked kind of another conversation about having stuff. And the conversation was around this idea that sometimes because of things and reasons you can't do the most efficient thing. And an example was at that moment was a paramedic. So this EMT, I understand there's a difference, but this EMT, I asked him, I was like, well, you have stuff in bags because of the nature of your job. You don't know what you're showing up to, so you don't like hold it in your hands because you don't know if you're going to need a tourniquet, if you're going to need a chest seal, if you're going to need a baggy thing. Like you don't know exactly what you need. You need to process the information first, evaluate, and then kind of go to the thing. You still have the bag. You take the bag and boom, and it's right there, but it's not the most efficient thing because of context. Because of context. And his rebuttal to it, his chime back, and he was just giving some feedback to what I had said. The feedback was, well, it's better than nothing. And I every time I hear that it's better than nothing, I have this issue with it. So we'll have a conversation about that. And well, I also want to take an opportunity to talk about the shit that's going on with Glock, the stuff that's going on with Glock. To my wife and my daughter that are probably the only people listening right now. Um, the Glock situation is kind of weird. That's been strange. YouTubers did what YouTubers do, and what YouTubers do is they create hyperbole. So over the week, you've probably seen a lot of humans posting on their websites and posting on their social media channels about how they were getting information from Glock. And first off, this started off from the Glock store. No affiliation. The Glock store and Glock have no affiliation. This is just a store that decided to name themselves the Glock store. Ingenious marketing move on their end, but it has nothing to do with Glock. So their post was, we got some information from Glock. They're going to discontinue all of the popular models, and they're going to replace it with the V. And the reason they're doing this is because of Glock switches. The Glock V will not allow Glock switches. And like everything else in life, if you just give it some time, real information comes in. And this is the problem with all the fucking influencers, and this is the problem with all the fucking YouTubers. And some of these people I know, personally. Some people, it's frustrating that they fall into this trap of the mainstream media of, I just got to say the information and give you guys hyperbole. Obviously, the biggest problem is humans that don't do this and don't do research. They're relying on these people to get information. So people are listening to this, and then now they think that Glock is discontinuing all the guns. That's not what's happening. And it's definitely not because of Glock switches. And how do we know? Well, because it's really fucking easy to figure this shit out. Like it's not tough to figure this out. If we go to Glock's website, let me just share this really quick. Ta-da! And straight from Glock, their discontinued models. It's boom, the Glock 17 Gen 4, 17 MOS Gen 4 and Gen 5, 17L Classic, the Gen 3, the 17L MOS Gen 5, G19, Gen 4, Gen 4, Gen 3, and Gen 4 on the G20s and the G21, G21 SF, this slim frame that's probably should have been discontinued. And I think this is it. It was I was about to say is that probably should have been discontinued a long time ago. And most of these guns, I think that's the problem, is they should have been discontinued a long fucking time ago. When you have tried and true models, every gun manufacturer has a list of guns that should be discontinued, right? You got SIG, the P320 should probably fucking go away. FN has the 500 series, which whatever, especially the tactical series, it should probably go away. HK, all their fucking guns should go away. You've got you've got Smith and Wesson M&P that should probably get away from the old shields, the original shields. The shields are they're okay guns, but they have better stuff now. So it's this is what this looks like, and they say it later on, so it doesn't just look that way. That's literally what it is guns that just shouldn't be on the market. I don't know why they're not discontinuing the 25 here in the US. Is it the 25 or the 28 that they brought back here in the US, the 380 model? At any rate, so they are getting rid of some guns, but it's all guns that really haven't been that popular. G26, I think I've seen once in my class, the G26. The 21, I've seen twice in my class. The 20, I've seen once in my class. The rest of them, oh, I've seen the 26 twice in my class. The Gen 4, I'm sorry. The original one, I think I've seen once, maybe. So these are all guns that are just not that popular. Probably shouldn't have existed. They do it because the market demands certain shit, and they feel like they need to push it out because you guys listen to YouTubers, and then you're like, I want this gun, and then manufacturers create a bunch of bullshit that they shouldn't fucking create. And all of the companies do it. All of the companies do it. But again, they explain why. In order to focus on the product that will drive future innovation and growth, we're making strategic decision to reduce our current commercial portfolio. This streamlined approach allows us to concentrate on continuing to deliver the highest quality and the most relevant solutions for the market. Now, a lot of people were talking about like, oh well, the Glock is just bending to the knee, and we've seen evidence of that. So I'm not going to sit here and say Glock is above fucking being a little bitch and folding at political pressure. I'm not saying they're not above that. They sent a letter to the person in Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken. We made a video about that. But a lot of people are saying that they're getting rid of the older versions to bring that V model, so that you can't add a Glock switch. But again, they're not getting rid of Gen 3 or Gen 5 regular Glock 17s. In fact, they're not even getting rid of the Gen 17 or the G17 at all in any variant, just the MOS. The G19 only in the Gen 4. So the Gen 5 still going to be available. The Gen 3 still going to be available. So for the humans who are saying bullshit about like, oh, just Glock's way of getting rid of the Glock switch and bending to the knee of the government, we might have evidence on other sides, but we definitely don't have that evidence on this side. So there's no real evidence for this that's the reason why they're doing it. So that's the Glock thing. That's about as much as I want to have a conversation about with the Glock shit. Now I do want to talk about the other conversation, the main one. This is not going to be a super long podcast, if we even want to call it a podcast at this point. But I do want to talk about that conversation that I had with the student about when is something better than nothing. His comments of, well, it's better than nothing, and I don't agree with it for many reasons. Oh, my microphone arm. There we go. we have plenty of evidence. We have plenty of circumstances. We have plenty of videos that we can look to where it's this idea of something is better than nothing is just not true. It's just 100% not true. I'm going to set up a video here that we've played a couple times. This almost is the perfect video. Almost. This almost is the perfect video because it shows a lot. It shows a lot of information, and you can use this as one data point. I understand it's not all the data points, but you can use this as a data point to collect a lot of that information that people dispute and people debate. The information is almost all there, almost all of it. Again, I say it's almost perfect, but it fucking shows a lot. And this is the church video where Jack Wilson ended up killing the bad guy. This was out of Texas, and I just want to show you the video. Understand that humans are going to get shot. I'm not going to play the whole shooting. I just want to play a certain snippet out of it to again talk about this idea that something is better than nothing. And I argue that sometimes something is as bad as having nothing, maybe even worse, maybe even worse. And here we go. So this guy, the this guy right here, the dude that got shot, the very first guy that got shot. This individual right here, I hope fucking YouTube doesn't take this shit down. But this guy right here stands up, and that's his strategy. His strategy is, oh, there's a shotgun. Let me very gingerly get up and start reaching for a gun very slowly and fumble around with stuff. I would argue that that is a perfect example of something being as bad as nothing, or maybe even being worse than nothing. And the my thought process behind this is, if he would have had nothing, he probably wouldn't have stood up in front of a fucking shotgun and started the process of unholstering a firearm. He'd probably be hiding. He'd probably be ducking, going somewhere else. And I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not here, and I won't debate or I won't talk about whether or not I would have done the same thing. What I'm what I am saying though is his move. And again, I'm sitting here in a fucking office making a video. I wasn't there, but this idea that he gets up and starts reaching for a gun when he already has a gun pointed at him, and he does it very sloppy as well. He does it super fucking sloppy. I would say that that is something being worse than nothing. He shouldn't have done what he did. Obviously, unfortunately, he paid the ultimate price. This individual does end up dying. So does the other individual, which kind of highlights this thing of sometimes even when you have nothing, it's not your day. It just isn't your day. So this idea that something is better than nothing, it's one of these conversations like, well, maybe. You could also find this evidence. Let me go to this other one. And this is just a general Google search that you guys can do. Man open carrying, shot with own gun. This happened at an auto zone in Las Vegas just recently, earlier this year. And that's exactly what happened. This is a human. These are all the stories. You can click on any one of these and you will find the story. I don't know if there's video about this, but again, this is a situation where something was worse than nothing. Because again, I argue, had he not been open carrying, and maybe that's it. Maybe people are going to be like, well, he should have just not been open carrying. Cool. That is an argument. That is a separate argument. My argument, though, is that sometimes something is in fact as bad as nothing or even worse than nothing. Why do I bring this up? Why is this important? Why even spend this much fucking time on it? It's because a lot of people want to do the bare minimum. Isaac and I have talked about this, and there is this idea that no matter what you do, it will always be the lowest, right? Because you can't do more than what you did, so it's always going to be the lowest. Get that, understand that, can't even argue with that. But we don't want to encourage humans to just do something because they feel like that's better than nothing. That can be dangerous. It can get you into these situations where humans had something, but they thought that that something was their lifesaver, the end all be all, the fucking whatever you want to add there. And it wasn't. They lacked the understanding on how to use it. They lacked the understanding on how to implement it. They lacked the understanding on how to apply the skills. They lacked all of that stuff. So having a tool is not as good, or not as is not better than nothing. You have to understand how to apply the skills, and this is what we argue all the time against the people who want to use timers and people who want to choreograph their self-defense and do the dot torture drill and the bill drill and the El Presidente drill and all that shit. And they're like, well, I'm doing something. Like, yeah, but you're not understanding how to apply the appropriate skill in context, and that becomes dangerous, that becomes deadly, it becomes not so fucking awesome for the rest of society. Not so awesome for your family, not so awesome for friends, all of that shit. So this idea that, well, I've got something, so that's as way better than something, that's just not the way it goes. It doesn't work that way. I would encourage you guys to kind of study this further. I would encourage you guys to explore this idea that just because you have something doesn't mean you are prepared. All it means is you have something. That's all it fucking means. You have something. Pretending that that's gonna be your saving grace is fucking garbage. Super fucking garbage. I think we beat that one to death. I do want to spend a little bit of time before I shut the shit down, um, and kind of talk a little bit about the status of um, the market overall. I mean, if you look at the number, September was another one of those months where I'm going to look it up. September. mm, so I'm just looking at September. All of this information, by the way, all of this information you guys can look up through um, the state's NIC system. So here in the state of Colorado, I don't know what state you would be in. So if we go to CBI, let me put this up on the screen for you guys so you don't just watch me Google shit. Although people like to watch people do stuff on the internet, so maybe that'll be a video. Just you guys just watch me Google shit. So if we go to the InstaChecks here in the state of Colorado, this is the CBI InstaCheck statistics. You guys have all of this information right here, previous years as well. September. If we click on September, we will get that information, and the total year-to-date transactions is 241,323 approvals. So year-to-date, this is all year-to-date stuff. In September, total transactions were 22,525. This includes the denied. This is all of it, and then it breaks it down why they were denied. CHP totals in the entire state of Colorado in September 2025, 3,073 people applied. So in the entire state of Colorado, 3,073. Well, total 3,092 with the ones that they denied. That's the total. That's the total for the entire month. In the entire year, just slightly under 50,000 people applied for their permit. If we compare that to previous years, this is a bit lower than it was last year and a bit lower than it was the year before that. Definitely pre-COVID and shit like that. So the trends, and let me replace this. Replacing this, and the reason we bring this up, the reason why I like to bring this up, one, it's pretty interesting information, but it's also having people understand that obviously the economy's fucking this up, and obviously laws are changing the way we operate and the way we navigate. The problem with this though is it's not just a Colorado thing. It's a national trend. There was a slight increase in number of NICS, national criminal background checks, for sales compared to 2024. Third quarter, despite the monthly increase, sales related checks were down approximately 5.7% year over year for the full third quarter. So again, September was slightly up, but for the entire third quarter of 2025 is a decrease of 5.7%. So it's not just legal stuff. It's a change in the way we operate. It's obviously the economy, the tariffs. Again, I don't want to get too political at this particular time, especially because Isaac's not here to kind of check me. Again, we don't know when that motherfucker's going to come back to check all this shit. So I have to be careful with even having these conversations. But obviously, there's a big change. Last podcast, if I'm not mistaken, gun websites. If you guys don't know about that individual, please go check him out. Gun websites asked the question about Gen Zers, right? The younger generations and the gun industry, and I don't think the gun community is doing a good enough job at bringing in the next generation. We have like my kids don't like to shoot. They don't hate to shoot. They will go shoot. It's not that they won't go shoot. But like my kids are not going to replace me. My kids are not going to do my job. My son has probably no fucking interest in becoming an instructor the way that I'm an instructor. None of my fucking kids want to do that shit. And they don't have to. Like that's not, I'm not saying this as a bad thing. I'm saying it as that's the next generation. The 20-year-olds. They don't seem to be as interested in this as much as the older generation is, us old fuckers. And it's not the same. It's not the same as previous generations where like, oh, they don't make them like they used to. Like it's not even that. It's just different. So how do we connect with those individuals? How do we share the information with those individuals? How do we get them in? We get 20-year-olds in our classes all the time. It's not like we don't. They just don't seem as plugged into the culture as much as the 40-year-olds, the 50-year-olds, and obviously the old ones, the old ones. So it's that it's that struggle of how do we bridge that gap. I fucking hate that cliche, but like how do we bridge that gap between the 20-year-olds and at this point now the 40 and the 50-year-olds? And it seems like there's a lot less enthusiasm, or maybe it's a different enthusiasm, and that we haven't explored as a community. Those numbers go down and they keep going down. We are going to be at a point where the culture is lost. There's a lot of other countries who have guns as part of their culture. It's just not as big as the US, because the US was really big on that culture. It was almost an identity to be a gun owner. Now it doesn't seem to be as much. I have a lot of humans. I don't have many friends. I have very few friends, but I do know a lot of people. And a lot of the people that I know that are about my age, I can't say that their kids are as enthusiastic about gun culture as they are. I don't see it like that. I don't see any of their kids being super fucking into guns the way that they are. And a lot of people that I know are probably not super fucking into guns the way I just characterized it, but they definitely their kids for sure are not even close. They'll shoot again. They don't hate guns. They're not necessarily anti-gun. Their kids and my kids and all that shit, but they're just not gonna set up a range date. They're just not gonna set up. My Isaac likes to do the Arroyo Paloozas, and this is just the boys. I don't like to participate in that type of stuff. I like to be invited. Those fuckers haven't invited me in a very long time, fuckers. Um, but it's just not my scene. It's just not my scene. I don't like the frat boy vibes and shit like that. I never have. It's definitely the frat boy vibes every time you get dudes together with fucking Toyota Tacomas and fucking lifted trucks and a bunch of guns and shit like that and beer and all that shit. So like it's just not my scene. Um, it's fun, super fun. And I don't see the younger generation doing stuff like that. There is a couple dudes that are younger-ish, but they're like approaching 30 now. They're I wouldn't even call them young. Like they're married and uh about to have kids and shit like, which by the way, 30 is way too fucking old to have fucking kids. If you're just starting to have kids at 30, fucking weirdos. Uh, but but these people they got in when they were in their 20s, and now they're approaching 30s or in their early 30s and shit like that. So I wouldn't that like that's not the generation I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones that are just 21 right now, the ones that are just 20 right now, the ones that are just 18 right now. Don't know exactly what fucking generation that is. I think that's the Gen Zers. And like, how do we get them in? Because I don't see anybody following them. I don't see anybody following Cody. I don't see anybody following Ryan in the next generation. A lot of it is that they didn't white people take too fucking long to have babies. So there's obviously that, but there's no excuse for Mexicans, right? Like we fucking have babies all the motherfucking time. It's a weird thing. It's one of those things where I think it's worth for the community to explore this gap, explore this fucking trouble that we're having in communicating gun ownership to the younger generation, to the 20-year-olds, to the 18-year-olds. Fuck, at this point, the 15-year-old, the 16-year-old. How do we have this conversation about normalizing this activity as a normal fucking everyday thing to the 15-year-olds, to the 16-year-olds, to the 17-year-olds, to the now 20-year-olds? Again, far beyond going to a class and taking a concealed carry class. Like, how do we bridge that gap? What are we doing wrong? How are we fucking this up? If we don't correct it, obviously we're going to lose a culture, and they're not going to have something to rely on. And we see where that leads humans. We see where that leads all of society. So, at any rate, without Isaac talking and saying stuff, this is about as awesome as the fucking podcast can go. I appreciate the two of you guys that jumped on, and big thanks to Javier and Stephanie all together. I need to go to class again. Can't ever get enough of information. Yeah, it kind of is. It's nice to continue the knowledge and the learning and all that stuff. I will say this though. I think you can get to a point, and there we can definitely prove that there's a point where you've reached the max level of information that you can get in a particular context, not a subject, a context, in a particular context. So like microphones, right? Like an example of microphone, we know how microphones work. They're going to come up with different ones, and some are better than others, but we know everything there is to know about microphones, and anything that comes after this microphone is just a variation of this microphone. It's not super new technology. We know how lights work and all that shit. Like, you there's not much more you can add to lights. You can change the technology a little bit and how you make lights glow. You go from the old bulbs to the Edison bulbs to LED bulbs and shit like that. There are different ways to make shit bright, but like we already know how it works. So with gun classes, you get to a point where we see a lot of humans just certificate chasing. So yeah, you're 100% show up to the classes. You should do it more than once. You should do it more than twice, more than 3 times, more than 4 times. But I've seen people at my classes where at some point it's just like, you probably should change the context now. You should probably be working on something else. You've hit you're kind of maxed out on this context, on how you apply this skill. You need to move on to the other one. In guns, it means unorthodox positions. It means advanced pistol handling. It means still applying the same type of skill, just in a different context. That's kind of the skill development cycle too. The skill development cycle is, um, you learn something, so you train, you learn something, and then you evaluate. And when you evaluate, from there, either you start all over again, or you change the context. Like, what am I good at? What am I good enough at? What do I suck at? And how do I get better? Like that's it. I learned something new. Yay. And then practice that. I develop that skill, and then I evaluate the skill. That's the one I was missing, developing the skill. Practicing is developing the skill. But once you're good enough at it, like, you have a choice. Do I change the context or keep doing that shit all over again? But I'm already good enough at it, so maybe I should change the context. And if I still suck at it, then, or learn a new skill. I'm sorry, learn a new skill. And if I suck at it, then continue developing the skill. So, um, but yeah, never enough knowledge on these subjects. Different context within the subject, for sure, for sure. So, at any rate, gunsforeveryone.com is where the podcast gets hosted. So if you guys want to go listen to that, the older episodes, gunsforeveryone.com, but it's also on Spotify. It's really, if you have an app, you can go look for the show. It's basically on all of them. I don't know of an app that it's not on, and if it isn't on the app that you have, let us know so we can push it that way. But if I'm not mistaken, this is already being published to iTunes and YouTube, if I'm not mistaken, the YouTube podcast side of stuff. If not, here on our YouTube channel, and all of the weird apps, the ones that you Signal chat users have, and all that shit. So it's there. It's out there. GFEnational.com. We'll be having some competitions coming up. Those do qualify you to obtain your concealed handgun permit. Again, please do not forget that we have fundraisers going on. If you're in the chats, you guys can also do it that way. If you're on YouTube, you can do the super chats, or you can buy the merch. Please buy the merch. A lot of people ask us about the merch, and it's one of those things that very few humans actually follow through. But we do have merchandise that you can buy through YouTube. Click those links, and it'll send you to that stuff, and you can buy some of our merch. Obviously, that helps us continue the free concealed carry classes. But anyways, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for thanks for joining the podcast. Do the comments, do all that stuff. I appreciate you guys. Thanks, Javier, for and Stephanie. I don't know which one you are. For the comments.